When it comes to doing public speaking, this is hardly public speaking for me because I know 85% of you pretty dang well. I mean, many of you I do business networking with, some of you I work with, some of you are my customers. I'm pretty sure I went to high school with her. I'm 85% sure. Okay, good. I'm not crazy. We went to high school together, right? And that's the thing, is we're in a small town and we're doing small town things with small town people, and it's hardly ever really truly public speaking because I'm not getting up in front of a stage and performing in front of people. That being said, I did spend a small segment of my life doing that too as a musician. Yeah, you do what you want to do, right? So, why am I bringing up this point? What does this have to do with online marketing? Well, my point is that for most of the businesses that I see in Douglas County that need help with marketing or guidance or anything along those lines, they get very distracted by how abstract the internet is, right? It's a big, infinitely large place, and people commonly get lost in it, okay? And what I see is that people get unrealistic about their expectations with their business, which is why my presentation has the tagline of, "Let's get real for a minute," okay? Because everybody has unreal expectations for your business and the internet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over a few key topics about what kind of things you're probably familiar with, and a lot of things that I'm gonna say are probably wrong about what you're familiar with. And you know, this is gonna go online, which is gonna be really interesting because this lecture really only applies to people inside of small towns. Now, to tell you guys a little bit about myself, so I do a lot more than just developing websites. I'm actually contract CTO. With a number of different companies. So what I do is I take over large-scale IT projects that happen to commonly deal with programming. And one of the side things that we do that people kind of know us for is our website work. Because we also have a data center. We host out of the data center that we have, which keeps costs low. It's a really nice little thing. There's a few other things that I do, though. I'm a business advisor with the SBDC, which is my good friends over here and Brandon over there. And I teach a class called Social Media Marketing, which is horribly named because it's about a lot more than just social media marketing. So while we're going through these topics today, and if something comes to you and you say, wow, I really want to know a lot more about that, you should come join our class. It's an 8-week course. It meets every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7 for 8 weeks, starting in February. Is that correct, Kim? Okay, good. They tell me when to show up and I show up, so. The other thing I do is I'm a very part-time educator at UCC. I teach the computer science. I teach a few of the computer science courses over there. So I focus a lot in education. It's kind of one of my big things. So anytime I'm going through any of this, if you hit something that you're like, whoa, slow down, let me know. I'm really used to that. Raise your hand. It works, right? So first of all, we're going to talk about 3 big mistakes that every company makes. At least in Roseburg. Some of these actually don't apply to other places. These are my 3 big tips, all right? Number 1, stop listening to generic advice on the internet, okay? WebMD doesn't work for diagnosing big, problems, so why do you go on the internet and try and follow all of the rules that people set out in front of you? Number 2, your business is boring. I promise you that, okay? I can go on for hours about my business and I will be so fascinated and interested and no one else will care because I can get down in the weeds and you guys do too. Your business is really boring, all right? Number 3 is the internet is no different than real life. And this is my most important point, okay? Way too often we focus on, okay, the internet. It's up there in the cloud. I could reach 1 billion people. Actually, 3 billion people now, 3.4 billion people now. Wow, that's so much. No, stop it. Stop it. Okay? If your business is only surrounded by 100,000 people, well, then you guess what? Your internet is only surrounded by 100,000 people, and that's what you focus on. So we're going to talk more about that. So going into these 3 big things, the first thing is stop listening to generic advice. The biggest piece of generic advice I ever see is, oh, you got to get into viral marketing. That's what all the kids are into, right? Okay, well, as somebody who is a self-proclaimed kid, no, we're not, okay? Because when I see something viral online, it certainly isn't for a company that sells porta potties. That's the truth, okay? Now, number 2, viral marketing actually harms your business quite often, all right? Now, as I said, I know most of you in here and I know a lot about your businesses. And what would the point of somebody that lives in New York liking your page be? I live in New York, I've never heard of this company, but they post a really funny advertising video for, their company, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome, I'm gonna like this page because they're a local business in Roseburg, Oregon. Is that person ever gonna become your customer? It's possible for some of you, but for the majority, no. Especially around here, a lot of local people, right? I'm not going to sell to, well, I do on some of your products, but some of the other products, no, not at all, right? But, you know, we can use a good example, Loggers Tap House, where we are right now, okay? If a company in, you know, or if a person, if an 18-year-old kid in New York was to like Loggers Tap House Facebook page, it wouldn't do them any benefit. Sam wouldn't make any money off of it. It's not really that big of a thing, right? Nobody really cares, right? You know, a company that's opening up a hair salon, right? You're not going to benefit from it, right? We don't want to do that. We want to get people into your business and paying attention to your social media and your online marketing that is actually has the potential to become your customer. That's really what the big piece is, okay? So the other thing is Facebook filters how many people see your content. So if you have, say, you know, 10% of your customer base that's actually your customer base on your Facebook page, and then 90% people that you've managed to get to like your Facebook page because you're a really funny person, well, guess what? It's very unlikely that anybody that's actually your customer is going to be able to, you know, see your post at all, right? Second of all, you should be specific and unique, okay? Nobody expects you to be like a comedian on Twitter, and people get really caught up in that. It's okay. It's okay to have a small number of followers. There are plenty of companies that do quite well with social media marketing that have 200 to 300 very, very high converting potential customers, okay? That's so important. That's so important. It's about the quality, not the quantity, and it's so easy with the billions of people to get lost in that, okay? Now, the last thing is remembering that not everyone's your customer, okay? Now, I do a lot of business advising, and one of the things I like to ask people, and well, we all do when we do business advising, is who's your customer? The number of times people say everyone, you're wrong if that's your answer. 100%. Ask anybody that's been in business for a while. It is not everyone. Get specific, okay? And that's who you're going to be catering to, okay? That's why we don't listen to generic advice. Number two, your business is boring. My favorite topic, right? First of all, how often do you guys hear, you have to be posting on social media every single day? Yeah, it's really common that people are like, you have to post on social media every single day. And while I'm throwing this out here, that will not hurt your business. It's not what's going to make you great either. It's not what's going to make you successful. It's not what's going to do the most value for you, okay? There's not a lot of people that are waiting for, you know, a company that sells porta potties to post every day. It's just not happening. And personally, I look at a lot of companies that I like, and I don't care that they post every day, and I won't notice whether they post every day or not. And if anybody here does pay enough attention to a company on Facebook to know whether or not they post it every day, you might have a problem. You might need a hobby. So, this is my point. No one is dying for you to actively post about your business. It's okay if you post once a month, okay? There are some companies that have a Facebook page that posted important information and haven't touched it since, and it's still doing favors for their business, but they're not spending time doing it. It's completely possible to do, okay? Several of the companies that I work with actually don't have social media pages at all. And I'm the guy up here telling you about social media marketing and how much money it can make you because I've made a lot of money off of it, sure, but I also know where it's not worth my time, right? So for some of you in here, you really shouldn't have a Facebook page. You don't need a Facebook page. Yeah, or a Twitter. Definitely not a Twitter. Goodness, nobody around here uses Twitter. You know, it's all dependent on what your current situation is, which is, once again, you know, figuring out what works for you and not for everybody, okay? Now, my third thing is, sometimes you will solve a problem that people don't know that they need solved. And so why would they care about your business? Well, they don't, because they don't think that your business applies to them. So, at the end of the day, what's the point? Your business is really boring. That's it. That's all there is to it. Your business is boring, okay? That is an important thing to keep in mind. It's a lot easier to get through your marketing once you realize that you need to be targeting specifically people that would be interested in your business, okay? Now, the internet is no different than in real life. Well, that's a weird way to say it. The internet's the same as reality. Let's phrase it that way, okay? So let's think of a plausible, way that we would do something before the internet and the way we do it now, okay? Let's say that I need a divorce lawyer, okay? Now that I think about it, probably shouldn't have chose that with my wife right there. So I am looking for a divorce lawyer. And yeah, I've used that example a couple times. Didn't think that through. Okay, so I'm looking for a divorce lawyer, but it's 1950. There's no internet. I can't go and peruse Google for the best lawyer. So what did I do? Well, I'd go to the phone book and I'd look up, divorce lawyers. There we go, all right? So I see a couple divorce lawyers. I take down their names and their address locations. And so I go down to the first lawyer's building and I look at the front of their building and there's a broken window and there's like overgrown weeds in the front of it. It just looks horrible. What on earth is going on here? Am I going to go into that business? No, I'm not going to go into that business. Okay, if he can't take care of the front of his building, then how's he going to take care of me? Okay, simple things. Okay, first impressions matter. So in the world of the internet, where what do I do now? Well, instead of a phone book, I'm using Google, right? That's exactly what I'm doing, okay? So what is my first impression? Well, most of the time it's my website. So if I have a completely broken website that doesn't work, that people can't read, that doesn't work on a cell phone, it's completely useless. So you can do all the online advertising you want, but if you don't have a good place for them to land on that gives them a first impression, what are you doing? Just stop. Go walk and talk to people in person, okay? It's perfectly fine. If you don't want to have a website, if you don't want to have a Facebook, you can still make a business very successful by being out there, being involved, and getting in your community, okay? That's important. But it does help if you want to grow your business online. Make sure your first impressions matter. Second of all, if I walk into this divorce lawyer's office and I can't figure out where his dang office is, okay, and I'm walking in a big circle through a very confusing network of corridors because this is a really poorly organized building with no signage, I'm gonna leave because I don't want to deal with that, right? Which, wouldn't you know it, is actually something that happens on people's websites. I get on there, I can't figure out how to navigate what I'm doing, right? So organization is key. I want to guide people through the process of getting from here's an introduction, here's a sale, right? That's what we're all here for, right? Everybody wants to make money. That's okay. That's what we're in business for. Why else would we put our own money on the line to do it, right? So organization is key. 3, you have to prove yourself. Man, a lot of people don't understand this when it comes to the internet. The fact that somebody ended up on your website does not mean they're interested in you, okay? There's something called bounce rate, which is when somebody goes onto your website and then they leave instantly because there was something about there that they didn't like. The average bounce rate of a website is 70%, which means that 70% of the traffic that goes onto your website leaves immediately. That's an average, okay? The best I've ever seen is 42%. Boy, that seems pretty bad, huh? No, not really, because they're still doing fine. They're still making more than enough money, and it's perfectly acceptable, right? But you have to prove yourself to them that you are worthwhile spending the time to read about your business. They are not dying to give you money, okay? You are dying to have them give you money. You have to prove yourself that you're worth that. Those are my 3 big mistakes that I want to cover, okay? So now we got to talk about how online marketing is done correctly, okay? Now, online marketing done correctly is a lot easier than everybody builds it up to be. Oh my goodness, people want to make this complicated for no apparent reason whatsoever. It really is not that hard. What we do is we follow a couple of key points, okay? And there's 3 big ones for online marketing that we need to pay attention to, okay? There's 3 types of marketing online, okay? There's actually more, but this is what I'm going to talk about today because these are the most important. Number 1, inbound marketing. That's people that are looking for you. Outbound marketing, people that should be looking for you but aren't, okay? And number 3, my favorite, awareness marketing. Those people who don't know that they have a problem, but you're gonna tell them otherwise. That's a really important one. You got a problem, okay? That's one that people have a hard time doing, is saying, you've got a problem, let me solve it for you. Because it comes off as, well, fairly arrogant, I suppose, but hey, that's a part of business, right? So these 3 types of marketing are really important to know thoroughly and understand and be comfortable, using your logic and your common sense. And I cannot stress this enough, your common sense to be able to create a good marketing environment for your company, okay? So we're gonna cover these 3 topics pretty easily, okay? They're not that hard, and we're gonna break it down fairly simplistically, okay? Number 1, inbound marketing, people that are looking for you, okay? Well, so first of all, where do people go when they look for stuff? Google, right? SEO, search engine optimization, Google My Business. These things are, well, we talk about them all the time, but we don't really understand them, right? So let's talk about SEO for a bit. So SEO is, without a doubt, the most misunderstood concept online currently, which is really funny because it can be completely explained using my previous phrase of, what was it? The internet emulates reality. The internet is the same as real life. So what does a search engine do? Well, when do we say the words Google it? We were at dinner the other day, and somebody had a question about who played the girl that ends up with, in Love Actually, the Prime Minister. You guys familiar with that movie? Hugh Grant. Yeah, the girl that ends up with Hugh Grant. We had no idea who she was, like name-wise, but we really enjoyed her performance. She was great in that movie. This was over Christmas we were doing this, right? And we were thinking of, okay, who the heck plays that? And, you know, who is she? Well, wouldn't you know it, my wife turned to me and said, Google it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's what all of you do, right? Yeah, Google it. We Googled it. Turns out she's a singer. I had no idea. She's a singer in England. I had no idea. And then we read all about her, and we learned that that was the only movie that she's ever acted in. Oh, well, that's neat. Okay, cool. Wow, and we started going down this rabbit trail of questions and answers about these people that are performing in Love Actually, of all things, because it was Christmas break and we had nothing better to do. Okay, so what did Google do for us? Well, they answered a question, right? So when people are Googling for things, they're asking questions, and somebody out there is providing answers. Who provided me with that answer? Well, IMDb did. They provided me with that answer, right? Well, that makes sense, okay. So IMDb got me on their page, and then I viewed their ads, and they got money. That was a successful exchange for them. That was good SEO. That worked out great. Said that like Tony the Tiger, sorry. So, okay. Sorry. So SEO is just answering questions, right? So how do you make your business show up effectively on Google? You have to convince Google that you're providing them with the best answers possible, right? Are you the authority on this topic? Well, if so, then let's provide your answers to the most amount of people that it's relevant to. That's all search engine optimization is who's asking questions and what questions do you answer, and Google gets paid to play matchmaker, right? So you got these people looking, what's my problem? Let's use loggers again as an example. I'm looking for a place to take 3 friends to have beer and pizza. Okay, Google says, well, I just so happen to know that there's a fantastic place that you can have lots of beer and lots of pizza. Matchmaker, right? That's all it is. That's all search engine optimization is. For some reason, this is a concept that nobody can seem to explain in a very reasonable fashion to people. And there it is. You understand it. That's truly all search engine optimization is. What questions do you answer? And a lot of people say, well, I provide a service. I don't answer a question, right? Well, I mean, yeah, you do. You always do. Because all of us are in business because we do what? We solve problems. What's that problem? Well, my backyard crops didn't grow very well this year. Do I know somebody that happens to produce worm castings? Yes, I do. Right there. I happen to know that off the top of my head, but what if I Googled it, right? My crops didn't grow well. Well, you can try worm castings. They're known to improve your yield. Whoa! Questions and answers. What's the problem? What are you solving, right? I've got a broken down toy car that I can't drive around anymore, right? Well, I already know that I can come over here to Wolf's Customs and get that taken care of, right? But if Google also knows that that's something you can do with your stuff, it would suggest it to somebody asking those questions. There are questions and answers. What questions are you answering? Okay? That's what you need to do. You need to answer the questions, okay? And you need to tell Google, by the way. You need to say to Google, hey, listen up. These are the questions that I answer, so send everybody that does that my way, okay? How do you do that? Well, It takes a little bit of creative writing, which is where most people actually kind of fall behind, is because writing for a website is really, really hard, okay? But that's SEO. Does everybody feel pretty comfortable with that concept? It's not that complicated, right? It's questions and answers because Google is a search engine. All it does is answer questions, okay? So that's search engine optimization. And it's important that you have that because when someone's looking for the solution to your problem, to the problem that you're solving, you need to be there, right? Because if I'm searching for, if I was searching for where can I get, martial art classes, right? And Olga is nowhere to be found, right? Dynamic martial arts is nowhere to be found. Well, we're not doing very good now, are we? But you are there. You're being there where you need to be, right? You just got to make sure that you're answering those questions for Google. Yes?
You said that it comes with creative writing on your website.
Yes.
Is there a way to feed that information to Google if you're not using a website?
Okay, so this is a great question. Is there a way to feed content to Google if you're not using a website? So I'm going to assume in your case it's a Facebook page that needs to be fairly well ranked. Well, the good news is Facebook is actually treated like a website by Google, right? So there's a lot of businesses that don't have a website at all and they just use their Facebook page. Yes, 100%. You can still do that. Is it harder? Yes. Yes, it is, but it's completely plausible, okay? Now, the biggest thing that you can do about search engine optimization on a Facebook page versus Google is that you're going to have to actually find a place inside of Facebook that lets you post that information in a way that search engines will index, okay? So that they'll bookmark it as this is a possible solution, and it's not inside of a Facebook post. It's not inside of a comment section. It's always inside of the actual Facebook page itself in like the About Us section and stuff like that. If you want to go over that more, come see me later. We'll talk about it because I know exactly your situation. So number 2 is a good website. Okay, so you've told Google this is the question that I answer. Okay, here it is. Well, where are they going to go now? Well, there's one of 3 places that they can go. Your Google business listing, your social media page, or your website, or preferably all 3. That's your best bet. Okay, preferably all 3. But at the end of the day, your website has to work, okay, and it has to be good at SEO, which it's not. For pretty much all of you in here, it's not. Because there's been a very low bar for SEO set in this area because the truth is we're pretty small and there's not that much competition. So it doesn't take that much, right? It really doesn't. So if your website is going to compete with people outside of just Douglas County, then you're probably going to have to look at upping your SEO a lot. But in Roseburg, it's okay to have fairly bad SEO practices. That being said, there's a lot that you can do to increase it, okay? But a good website is pretty important. And this is one of the things that I do a lot of advising for with the SBDC. I help people look through their website and highlight what's good, what's bad, and what needs changed around, okay? This one's my favorite of this list. Instructions on how they can become your customer. Whew. People make it really hard to give them money. What happens if I go to a grocery store and I get up to the cashier and the cashier says, okay, great, you want to buy all this stuff? Send me an email, then I'll send you an invoice, and then you PayPal me the remainder. Whoa. No, thank you. I'm going to go to Sherm's. This new imaginary grocery store isn't going to work out in this town. Oh my goodness, why do you people do this on your Facebook page or your business page or your website? Stop making it hard for people to become your customers. Clear, direct line. If you want to become a customer, call us at this number. If you want to purchase this product, click here to buy it. Not send me an email, not, I'll send you back this and then you send me that. And just the number of times I get on a website and it's completely absent. There's nothing. There's no contact. There's no information on how to reach them. There's no buy now button. It's like, great, I'm aware your business exists now, but I couldn't tell you how to give you money, right? Give them instructions. Make it simple. Very straightforward, okay? Do not overcomplicate this. It's incredibly important how unfortunately common it is that this really does happen, but it is what it is. Outbound marketing. Now this is the kind of marketing that you guys are a little bit more familiar with, traditional, okay? or traditionally, because it involves traditional marketing, right? So outbound marketing generally fits into a couple of categories online. First of all, the big one being Facebook or social media marketing. Truthfully, the only ads that are really economically viable in Douglas County at this exact moment is Facebook, because Douglas County has a very high Facebook user population. The adoption rate for Twitter, Reddit, and stuff like that incredibly low. There are some people that do YouTube advertising for people watching YouTube inside of this area. I'm going to advise you against that though, because the most annoying thing in the world are YouTube ads. So do not advertise on YouTube. If I see an advertisement on while I'm trying to watch YouTube, I will literally go out of my way to not buy from that company, okay? That's just the truth, okay? So right now, Facebook ads inside of Douglas County are the most cost-effective and most likely to actually work out for your dollars, right? So that's the big one that I recommend, and that's really what I focus on in the course that I teach, the 8-week course that I teach with the SBDC. Google AdWords. How often do you guys go on Google, search for a product or a service, and then you see two at the very top that are like green colored and they say ad next to them? That's called Google AdWords, okay? And that is paying to be the first response on Google, okay? So here's the interesting thing about that. It's pay per click, which means every single person that clicks on that, you're charged an amount of money. So if you're ever Googling your own business and a couple of competitors pop up at the top of the list, click on those ads, it'll charge them like $2. Really funny. Yeah, that's how it works, right? Pay per click. Now, the bad news is you can't just click them over and over and over again, because it's all like, it's pay per click per unique user, right? But that being said, you can still cost them $4.99. That's pretty good. So just don't be surprised when they do the same thing back to you. So that's what Google AdWords is. It's at the very top of the page. And it's a little bit of a cross between inbound and outbound marketing. It really starts to blur the line a little bit, because you're specifically targeting people that are looking for something that's the solution to your service, right? But it's just a good way to kind of get up at make sure that you're getting good SEO, if you're willing to pay for the customers, right? It's only ever worth the money if it's a high converting value, right? If your customer is going to make you $1,000 per customer, oh yeah, it's worth it, right? But if your customer is going to make you 22 cents per customer on average, don't waste time with that. Facebook ads are your way to go, okay? Then there's traditional advertising. A lot of people think that I would walk up here and say, well, traditional advertising is just horrible. Bad prices, the newspaper, magazines, all of these things, radio. No, they're still really, really useful, especially in a town like Douglas, in Roseburg and Douglas County, okay? We listen to a lot of radio here, I'll tell you what, okay? We also read a lot of magazines. People here clip their coupons like it's no tomorrow, okay? Which Pam back there has got a coupon book if any of you are interested in coupon books. You're welcome, Pam. Free promo. So, okay, so traditional advertising does work, okay? And here's the fun thing about it is you can actually tie them together, okay? And this is what I try and advocate the most, is there's going to be a number of advertising methods that work for you in a way where you can tie them to your online marketing and all those kinds of things so that they can work in tandem, so you can make sure you're tracking the correct people and you're doing a good job of creating a cohesive brand across all your platforms, across online and offline, because all of us spend time both online and offline. You might as well advertise in both, okay? The internet has not taken over that much. Do not think that. Anybody that tells you otherwise is really dumb or watches a lot of TV. So that's outbound marketing. Now, awareness marketing. You guys all solve problems, and some of them, nobody even knows what you're solving, okay? You know, I mean, I'm going to use an example of worm castings again, right? So Elena, you have a great product that's really cool, and it solves a problem of being more, nutritious for your vegetables, right, that are growing. And it's a handy tool. It's so cool and not overly processed and filled with all of these things. But when I walk into Walmart, I'm going to get sold generic fertilizers versus some actual complete nutritious soil for my vegetables, right? Because they're living plants. They feed on things. What am I feeding them? Well, I'm feeding them what's coming out of a bag out of Walmart, or am I feeding them what they're used to eating in nature, right? Which one, right? But there's a lot of people that don't know that's a problem. There's a lot of people that don't know why their tomatoes didn't turn red this year and they stayed green all year long. Not a joke. It was bad. All of them stayed red. We did not do a good job with that. So I'm your first customer for this next season. Okay? But there's a lot of problems out there that you guys are solving that other people don't know they solve, right? Olga, you gave a very good story the other day about a kid that gained some confidence and was able to handle a bad situation through your training, right? That's a really cool thing. But that's not what people are Googling when they're ending up on martial arts websites, right? You're solving a problem of confidence and capability, and it goes a lot deeper than just the service that you're selling at the face level, right? You have to find a way to convey that to your customers. Each one of you has something that makes you special, that makes you in business and worthwhile, okay? But it's very hard to convey that information to people via the internet. And I will tell you right now, the best way to make people aware of these things is to talk to them, okay? And this is kind of where I'm going to begin to wrap up this lecture of all the things that we spend time doing in a technology company. We are a technology company. We sell to other companies all over the country, several in other countries for that matter. We span a really wide distance, okay? I do very little online marketing. I do a lot of in-person marketing. It's why I know all of you in here. I've tried to sell to half of you, and about a third of you bought. So, you know who you are. But it's important that you realize that overall, when it comes to making people aware of your company, the internet is not always your best friend for this, okay? You being the person you are, talking to people, conveying information, whether it's in person, through video, whatever, okay? The one thing you cannot lose is the element of humanity that makes your business good in the first place, okay? Because all of you are working for something that you think is genuinely a good service. If anybody in here thinks that their service is bad, you really shouldn't be in business. Pro tip, okay? So my point is, get creative. Remember to keep communicating with people in a way that still lets them know you're a human, you're not faceless, you're not behind the computer, you're not behind your online marketing. Your online marketing isn't you, your online presence isn't you, you are you. Make sure you convey that, because that is the number one thing I see companies shoot themselves in the foot with, time and time again. I'm gonna put this website online, people are gonna find it, and they're gonna make so much, I'm gonna make so much money off of this, and then they sit there in their house, not talking to anybody, and they go out of business. Which, you know, the good news is all of you are already pretty ahead because you're here doing something in person, right? So, good job. Keep it up. You're not that far off of managing your online marketing perfectly, okay? Some of you need a couple of things that need to change, but in general, you're all doing pretty good. So, thank you. Q&A time, right?
Yes, Q&A time. We're moving into Q&A. Looks like Leanne's got a question.
That's great. Hi, Leanne.
Hi, Justin. What is Hootsuite and all those types of things? What was that about? Are you using it?
So Hootsuite is actually one of the few things. So Hootsuite is a management software, okay? Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I like browsing social media, okay? It's a lot of fun. My friends post some pretty funny stuff, and I'm friends with people all over the world, so it's a good way for us to be able to communicate, right? It's great, okay? What I don't like doing is sitting on social media working, right? Making posts, paying attention, responding to customer answers, right? I don't like to do that, especially not when I'm on a time schedule of I have to do this today, right? So what things like Hootsuite are is they are they're management softwares essentially, where you can preload a month's worth of Facebook posts to automatically deploy on a time schedule. It's pretty useful, right? And it's an easy and convenient way for you to see it kind of all in one spot, right? So it gives you a calendar and here's all of these things. It's really great for management, right? It's easier to manage that than it is to keep in mind, when was the last time I posted? Have I posted yet today? Do I need to? I don't even know, right? So what Hootsuite does is it helps you execute a marketing plan that you've created that involves social media.
So you recommend it?
A lot of them have free versions. I'd recommend the free ones.
Right, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't pay more than $10 a month for something, but you know, I'm not a huge advocate of posting on a super frequent basis anyway, but yes, it does help. Yes?
How about frequency? When someone sends me a little notice that I posted on my page today,
Right.
and I get one every day, it takes me about 4 days before I just continue seeing anything from that.
Sure. So, okay. So frequency on social media is interesting because there is no good answer that's cohesive, right? Because some people, if they see something once, they're already tired of it. Some people, they can see it 150 times and they're fine with it, right? It's a big variance, right? Now here is where I'm going to leave this piece of advice. Your customers are probably a lot like you. Most of us sell to people that are similar to ourselves. So think about yourself and what you'd prefer. Your customers prefer the exact same thing. Okay? That applies to all of you, right? If you're a super go-getter, posting every day kind of person, and you know that most of your customers are too, then yeah, fit into the crowd that you're trying to, be a part of, right? But it's almost always based on pretty much what you think is probably what your customers are thinking, because your customers are always, to some degree, fairly similar to you. Any other questions?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So, several months back, I decided to build a new website for Loggers Tap House. Did a bunch of research online, figured out that I wanted to do a WordPress website because it has the most plugins. I went on Fiverr and found a lady in Colombia who could do it for me for $300. It looked pretty good. And then I showed it to Justin, and then what did you?
I said, this is horrible, Sam. Now he ran into a pretty interesting problem, okay? And then this is something that, especially for SEO, let me go back a little ways here. So for SEO, one of the there's a couple of things that matter for SEO, okay? Especially when you're on the internet, okay? Number one being the code of your website has to be built properly, and this is the thing that gets messed up the most, okay? The other thing is it has to look good, okay? Now here's the thing. I'm a programmer. I know how to make things work. I can't design anything to save my life because I am virtually blind when it comes to what looks good and what looks bad. I'm a developer. I'm not a designer. And there's a lot of designers out there that aren't developers. It's almost impossible to find somebody that is both because they are just hands down completely opposite side of the brains that are being used in that kind of a creation, right? Don't know if that's scientifically accurate or not, but that's what I'm claiming. So you have a lot of people that are paying either a designer or a developer. The people that pay the developer tend to get a really functional website that looks horrible, okay? And then the designer makes a beautiful website that functions miserably, okay? Doesn't work properly, or even if it does work properly, by the way, there's coding errors that almost everybody makes. I don't blame them, it's very common. What happens is Google penalizes you for that. That is one of the factors. Now, by the way, Google uses over 200 factors to decide where you're showing up in search engines, okay? And in a case like, for most of you, the code of your website is gonna be fairly important. So whenever you're looking at a website, okay, it's very important to have a designer or a content marketer that can help you out. Example of one, Everything Umpqua. Good example, okay? But then there's also the side where you need to work with a developer, or your designer or your content marketer needs to work with a developer, okay? I happen to suggest my own company because I'm full of myself. But there are lots of people that can do the job. I will always tell you that, okay? There is somebody out there that can help you make things work the proper way, okay? But it's important. It has to look good. It has to be functional too. Question?
What are the average metrics for those 200?
Oh.
Say at website B, they sell sprockets, and they're at 50 of 200 metrics.
Sure.
Google. And then you got another outfit that sells cornbread, and they're like 175. How does that play into that?
So this is a super long topic that I would love to answer in super detail later, but I'm going to give you guys a summarized version of it, okay? So of those 200 factors, the most important one, oh yeah, sure, absolutely. How does these factors, how do these 200 factors, how do they really work together to compare websites to each other? Is essentially.
What's more important than the other? Like,
Yeah, what's more important than the other?
colors, but no words, or too many
Right.
words, no colors.
So very quickly, 900 words per page. 500 to 900 words per page. That's my first one, okay? Number 2, location is more important than anything else. Google uses your location and the location of the person Googling you over anything else. If I Google pizza right now, I'm gonna get loggers because I'm close to pizza. If I'm downtown at my office, okay, and I Google pizza, I'm gonna get, Bluebird, or I'm gonna get Old Soul, okay, because I'm close, right? Those words also, how frequently you use your keywords, which are the main points of a question, right? Where can I get good pizza? Good and pizza are your keywords, right? For the questions, all right? There's a much more in-depth version of that I'd love to tell you guys, but you guys don't have 3 hours to spare, and neither do I. So, it's a very large topic though, something that is covered in my class, by the way. I had a question over here, Lenny.
Yeah, what was the, when Sam had his site done, what was so bad about it?
So it looked good. It looked good, other than a couple of pictures were not the right resolution. That's his fault. He didn't have good photos.
That happens to
That happens to everybody. The main thing is okay, so you can make something look really good, but at the end of the day, your website has to follow an essay structure, okay? You remember, go back to middle school essays, all right? You have a thesis statement, you have 3 main topics, and then you have several supporting facts for each of those topics, okay? That's what Google wants you to have. You have to put code in your website that does that says, this is my thesis statement. This is fact 1, this is fact 2, this is fact 3, and here are my supporting statements. There's code that goes into your website that does that. Here's the problem. Those pieces of code automatically format the style of your text, which is just how the internet works. It's a really horrible system that's been around since the beginning though, okay? And so what happens is designers use these tags as decorations instead of actual informative pieces to Google. The thing is what you have to do is you have to put in these declarations, this is my thesis, this is this, this is that, and then you have to override those stylings with actual style code. It's a way to cut corners, sure, it's easy, and it's how most people learn, but it's the wrong way to learn. That's really what happens. Any other questions? I think we're pretty short on time anyway, so.
If anybody wants to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
It's a good question.
How do we Google and how do we become your
Okay, so most of the time when we work through, when we do creative websites, we work with a lot of creative partners, which are designers and content marketers. And the one I'm going to recommend to you is the one that's in the room here, and that's Pam in the back, Pamela. That's Pam. Hi, Pam. So she works with us to create good designs, make things look nice, as well as create some of that wording that's so important that Google cares about. When it comes to business advising, I can be found at the Small Business Development Centers of America, which is located downtown, which also happens to be where my offices are located. My offices are actually downstairs of the Umpqua Business Center, but I do have an office upstairs that makes it a lot easier to meet people with. So. You can find me at the Umpqua Business Center. If you want to work with us on websites, you can either reach out to me by going to umpquatech.com or reaching out to Pam. Well, Pam, you don't have a website for the websites yet. We're actually working on that. So,
Actually working on that, but they can still go to everythingumpqua.com.
Yep.
And put information in, and of course I have business cards.
yes. And then on top of that, if you're ever taking computer science classes out at UCC, there is a 5% chance I will teach it to you. Only 5. Very part-time. Very, very part-time teacher. But I love doing it. So I hope this has been educational for you all. And yeah, thanks. I hope it was good.